All right, hi everybody. Do I need to turn this thing on? Or is it good? It's on? Okay, awesome. Hi everybody, I'm really excited to be here. I'm from University of the Pacific. I'm an assistant clinical professor of pharmacy practice, also the director of our pharmacy undergraduate programs. And today I'm going to be speaking a little bit about a new program that we've created at the university. It's in the Pharmaceutical Sciences field. So I want to give you all a little bit more information about what the program is, who might qualify to be a good transfer candidate, and just what the job market looks like for this field. So a couple things before we get into all of that. I wanted to spend a little bit of time just talking about what my career journey has looked like, and I'll give a brief overview of Pacific's PharmD program. Then after that, we'll switch gears and we'll focus more on pharmaceutical science, talking about career opportunities in pharmaceutical science, as well as that new bachelor's degree program that we've created at our university, some information for potential transfer applicants, and then an invitation to attend our fall open house event that we'll be having in a few weeks. Okay, so a little bit of time on my career journey. So I am actually local to Modesto. I graduated from Enox High School, and then upon graduating from Enox, I went into the pre-pharmacy program at University of the Pacific. I graduated from pharmacy school in 2018 with my PharmD, and the time that I spent at Pacific as a student was, I thought, really incredible. In the beginning, I was hesitant to go there just because, I wanted to just get away from home, and so I wanted to go as far as I could. And ironically enough, I ended up in Stockton, which is not very far, but I had a wonderful time there. I thought that the university provided me with a lot of opportunities to just grow and to get really involved in the local community, and it almost instilled this sense of wanting to give back to the Central Valley and the community that's here. As I was navigating my journey through pharmacy school, I didn't really know exactly what area of pharmacy I wanted to go into. And as I progressed through pharmacy school, I learned that there is so much out there in the realm of pharmacy, right? I think a lot of us think of pharmacist as your traditional retail pharmacist, right? So your pharmacist at CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid gives you medications. But what I learned is there's so many opportunities out there within the pharmacy field. So things like retail pharmacy, but also hospital pharmacy, working in outpatient clinics to help people manage their chronic disease states, working in academia. And it was the field of academia that really excited me towards the end of my career in pharmacy school. I just didn't know how to get there, right? It seemed so far away. And so my initial goal out of pharmacy school was to apply for a pharmacy residency. Unfortunately, I did not get that position, so I didn't match with the residency upon graduating pharmacy school, and that moment felt like a failure, but also just like a what now moment, right? What do I do now? So I pivoted and I worked for Rite Aid as a pharmacist for a few years. And looking back, I think that that's the best thing that I could have done, because working as a pharmacist in a retail setting really provided me with a lot of opportunities for growth, right? I think you can all imagine what working in a retail setting is like, how demanding it can be, and it gave me an opportunity to just be confident as a pharmacist, to develop my problem-solving skills, to figure out how to work in different teams and balance team dynamics. And so I worked for Rite Aid locally, so I worked at some of the Rite Aids in Modesto. I floated around for a little bit, and then I had a home store down in Livingston, which is a little bit further south from Turlock. Worked for Rite Aid for about a year full time, and then I actually ended up back at University of the Pacific to complete an academia fellowship. So this was a 2-year program where I got some experience in teaching and lecturing, and really getting to dive a little bit deeper into what a career in pharmacy academia could look like. At that time, I also got my master's degree in healthcare outcomes and clinical services. So looking at different kinds of outreach events that we could have for patients and how that impacts their healthcare outcomes. During that same time, I also started working part-time at Doctors Medical Center, again, local hospital, and so I have been working at DMC for the last 5 years part-time. I love it, and again, it's just a different setting, right? So Rite Aid was very patient-forward and patient-focused, where you get all of that interaction. At DMC, I work in an inpatient pharmacy, which means that I am helping other pharmacists and working with physicians, nurses, to make sure that we're providing the best care possible for the patients who are admitted in our hospital. So that's been a really great experience. I feel like I'm still learning a lot there, even though it's already been 5 years. Since 2021, I have been an assistant clinical professor at Pacific, and at the time that I was hired, I was also hired as a program manager for our diabetes care clinics. So this program was really cool. It was a new program that we created in the Stockton community to try to address some of the diabetes problems that have been popping up. So San Joaquin County, which is where Pacific is located, has one of the highest rates of diabetes in the state. And so I got to be involved with coordinating outreach programs that our students were involved in to be able to provide healthcare screenings and services to the community. And so that was, again, just kind of an expansion on like what a career in pharmacy looks like, right? I didn't think that that was something that was possible when I first applied to pharmacy school or was thinking about pharmacy school. And then fast forward to now, I am the new director of our pharmacy undergraduate programs. So one of the programs that we have is a relatively new program. We just created it last fall, and it's our Bachelor of Science in Pharmaceutical Sciences degree. And so that's what I'll spend the majority of the time today talking about. Before I talk about that, I have talked a lot about like my career in pharmacy, right? So I did want to just very briefly talk about what our Doctor of Pharmacy program at Pacific looks like. This is an accelerated 3-year PharmD program. So most pharmacy schools are a 4-year program. Our program is 3 years. And so what that means is that you're in school year-round, basically, so through the summer. What the curriculum looks like is 2 years of didactic education in the classroom, and then your last year you spend out in the community doing various clinical rotations. So rotations in retail pharmacy, hospital pharmacy, outpatient clinics, and then you get 2 electives depending on what your interests are. Some of the prerequisites to be able to apply for our Doctor of Pharmacy program, one thing I wanted to highlight is that Pacific is unique in that we do not require a bachelor's degree in order to apply for our PharmD program. We just ask that all of the prerequisites are met. And so I've listed on the slides here some of the classes that we do require. So things like calculus, physics, Gen Chem, OChem, Gen Bio, Physio, Micro, and then a couple other GEs as well. So our application window, I believe, closes around March. So just something to keep an eye on. And I believe that there is a cool thing kind of in the works where our school is trying to work with different community colleges in the area, MJC being one of them, to see how we can develop a pathway program for students. So what it would look like is you would complete 2 years of undergraduate coursework at MJC, come to Pacific, complete 1 year of undergraduate coursework there, and then be able to advance to the pharmacy program. So that is kind of in the pipeline, so keep an eye out for that. I think it'll be a really cool program and a pathway for those who are interested in pharmacy school and just want to find a route to get there. Okay, so what I really want to talk about today is our pharmaceutical science program. Pharmaceutical science. How many of you have heard this term before? Yeah, so I think pharmacy is probably a more common term that's heard, right? Pharmaceutical science, not as much, but pharmaceutical scientists are involved in the development of drugs. So they are focused in the research, design, discovery, development of new drugs, whereas somebody who is in the pharmacy field, it's more patient forward. So you're providing healthcare services, you're dispensing drugs, you're counseling patients. But in the pharmaceutical sciences field, you're the ones that are behind the scenes creating those drugs, tweaking those drugs to make them more effective, to make them safer for patient therapy. So a Bachelor of Science in Pharmaceutical Science is a science-focused degree that can prepare students for careers in drug research, sales, development, and manufacturing. So what's the job market like, right? I think that's something that a lot of us want to know before we put forward all of our effort into a career. What our research has shown is that there are different kind of like categories of jobs that are available within the pharmaceutical sciences field. The most common jobs are going to be in research and development. But you can see from this slide here that there are jobs that are available in government agencies, in medical and surgical hospitals. If you go on to complete professional school, you might be able to teach at colleges, universities, and professional programs. There's some jobs available in medical or diagnostic labs, and then pharmaceutical and medical manufacturing. But bulk of the jobs are available in research and development. What's the job demand like here, though, right? So California is actually a really good place to be for somebody who's interested in going into the pharmaceutical sciences field. What our research has shown is that there are over 600 like pharmaceutical industries and biotech companies that are across the state of California. So there's a lot out there, right? And what's also really cool is that, you know, in the past, a lot of these industries and biotech companies were located in the Bay, so closer to San Francisco. What we've noticed over the last few years is that they're slowly migrating east. So now you'll see more companies that are in like the Dublin, Pleasanton area, and the projection is that slowly those jobs are going to migrate over to the Central Valley. So it's a really good opportunity to get involved in this line of work and to be able to like give back to this community and continue to work in this community if that's of interest. There's also a lot of opportunity down in Southern California, San Diego area as well. You can see from this slide here that basically I'm comparing national averages to California. So California, like I said, it's a hot spot for this kind of job, for the pharmaceutical sciences field. In an area the size of California, on average, there are more jobs than compared to like nationwide. Compensation in California is also relatively high, so it's around the median salary is about $120K for somebody that goes into like an entry-level pharmaceutical sciences career versus national median salary, which is closer to $95K. And then job posting demand is still high in California. So this is important, right? Because if you are interested in going into this field, it's going to take a little bit of time to get through school, get your degree, and then, you know, be active in the job market. What we're seeing is that California is having pretty high activity with job postings in this field, and that demand is going to continue to grow over the years. So again, this is a good area where we don't see the job demand slowing down or declining at the moment. And like I said, a lot of those jobs are going to start migrating over to the Central Valley. So it's going to just create a lot more opportunity for our local community. Okay, so I've been talking a lot about industry careers, pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies, but what does that all mean, right? So I listed on this slide some of the most common career path opportunities that are available for somebody who goes into the pharmaceutical sciences field, so we can talk through them. So the first one I've listed is a research associate, and one thing that I will say before we start going down this list is that there are, again, like a wide range of jobs that are available for somebody in the pharmaceutical sciences field. And what's nice is that a lot of entry-level jobs are good for people who have just that bachelor's degree. So you don't necessarily need to go on to graduate or professional school to be able to get an entry-level job in this field. So first position that I have listed on here is a research associate. So a research associate is basically involved in clinical trials of different drug manufacturing. So that research associate is the person that is developing and implementing the clinical protocols. They're the ones that are involved in the data collection processes, quality controls, that kind of stuff. Biomedical research lab work. So this is somebody who is tracking the causes and then the progression of various diseases, and then figuring out, like, can we create a treatment that can improve somebody who has this disease state? Or can we modify a treatment that already exists that can maybe treat this disease state in a different way or in a safer way? Because we all know that drugs have side effects, right? Then there are opportunities in forensics labs. So it's funny, as I was making this presentation, my husband was looking at this, and he doesn't work in the science field at all. And so when he saw forensics labs, he was like, is that like CSI? And it kind of is. So somebody who works in a forensics lab is going to be analyzing substances for law enforcement. They're going to be identifying illegal drugs. They're going to be the ones that are quantifying drug levels that, you know, that information is then used in criminal and civil cases. Then the next few job opportunities that I have listed here, they kind of go all together. So somebody who works in a chemical lab, they are testing compounds for drug discovery, development, and then also quality control. So they are just looking at the chemicals, right? Trying to identify compounds that maybe could be interesting, maybe could be used as a drug, but they're just looking at the compounds. Then you have somebody who works in drug discovery. Drug discovery, that's where they are identifying, designing, and then optimizing potential new drug molecules. So those chemical lab people are the ones that are just looking at the compounds, seeing what's out there, what might be interesting. Then our drug discovery folks are the ones that are actually looking at some of these compounds that the chemical lab people have thrown their way, and they are going to be figuring out, like, okay, can this actually be used as a drug molecule? Can we create a new drug with this? Then the next level from there is product development. So say our drug discovery folks have said, yes, like we found a potential new drug material. The product development team will then take that new drug concept and work with that and figure out how to turn it into something that is safe, effective, and marketable to consumers, to patients, right? So product development, they're actually the ones that are like putting this compound, this molecule, into a dosage form that can then be used by patients. So whether it's a tablet, a capsule, an IV solution, a topical cream, right? They're the ones that are producing that product. And then once you have a product that has been, you know, clinically proven to work, it's safe and effective, it's gone through multiple clinical trials that our research associate folks have, you know, tested and undergone quality control, then we have our pharmaceutical lab and sales folks who are the ones that are meeting with different physicians, hospital systems, different institutions, other medical professions to promote this new drug, right? We got to get it out on the market. We have to get people to use it, and just showing like what the trials have found and how this drug is unique or different than what's already out there in the market. So there are entry-level careers available in each of these different like career paths, which is really cool, right? For somebody who has gotten their BS in pharmaceutical sciences, they want to continue to do more. There's also the opportunity for those individuals to go on to graduate or professional programs, so master's or PhD programs, to either become more specialized, so have, you know, be like promoted or have a higher level role in one of these careers, or these individuals can then go on to colleges, universities, professional programs, and become educators, right? And so you educate the next group of students who are wanting to go down this field. Okay, so our Bachelor's of Science and Pharmaceutical Science program at Pacific is a traditional 4-year degree pathway. Our students are going to be prepared to enter the pharmaceutical industry. They're going to be able to go into drug manufacturing, and they will also be competitive candidates for various graduate science programs. The other cool thing about this program is that when we were creating it, we also tried to incorporate different professional program admission requirements. So if somebody wanted to complete their bachelor's in pharmaceutical sciences and then go on to like pharmacy school or PA school or some other healthcare field, this bachelor's program would complete a lot of those initial prereqs for some of those professional programs. And then obviously every school is going to be a little bit different, so there might be some additional GEs and things like that that you might need to take, but this program was designed to be a bit flexible. So what skills do our BS-PS students need? As you can tell, it's very science and lab heavy, right? So to be ready, our students will need an interest and some foundation in biology, chemistry, math, communication, writing, and then just having those like analytical and critical thinking skills, being inquisitive, right? Because if you go into drug manufacturing and drug discovery, you're the ones that are asking the questions of like, what is this? What if we do this? How do we do something, right? So you have to have that inquisitive mind and to be able to have some interest, right, in like problem solving and analyzing various things. And then students would also need to be able to have the basic lab skills or bench skills, right? Again, this field is pretty lab heavy and research heavy. So being able to be comfortable in a lab setting or be willing to learn how to work in a lab setting and just grow those skills, right? Okay, so what does our program look like? Like I said, it's a 4-year program. So the first 2 years of our program are really spent on building that science foundation and then also giving time for students to complete their GEs. Then our last 2 years of the program is where students are completing that core pharmaceutical science framework of classes. And then in that last year, the last semester, the students will spend doing what we call experiential learning. So experiential learning, this is where our students will have the opportunity to work with partners that we have that work in the pharmaceutical sciences field and work in farm industry, and be able to go on site and work with our partners for a year, or for a semester. So you get to learn from those partners, you get to see what the work is like, you get some hands-on clinical training, which is unique to our program. And I think also something that Pacific does really well. Okay, so going into more detail about some of the specifics of the program. So general education courses include things like Core 1 and 2, not really necessary though for students who are transferring at least 28 units of coursework. So for you all, if this was a program that you're interested in transferring into, Core 1 and 2, that's not something that would apply. But we would want you all to have completed or to complete as part of the program a course in public speaking, in economics, psychology, and then we have different categories of GEs, so an art GE and something that would also fulfill our world perspectives and ethics GE. And then we also have our math and science foundation prerequisites. So these are the courses that you would be taking or you would have transferred in those first 2 years of the program. So we do require students to complete 1 year of general chemistry, 1 year of OChem, 1 semester of Gen Bio, 1 semester of microbio, and then 1 semester each of physio, of biochem, physics, and calculus. And again, it's just to build that science foundation, right? Because then the last 2 years of the program is where you get those really cool, but also challenging pharmaceutical science courses. So I've listed the courses here just so you can kind of take a peek at what they are. But it's things like Intro to Pharmacology, so looking at how drugs work in the body, things like drugs, drug development, good practices when developing drugs, Intro to Stats and Experimental Design, because if you're going into research and development fields, we need to know how to conduct a good experiment. Physical Principles in Pharmacy, Intro to Pharmaceutical Analysis, looking at drug disposition and how different drugs are made. Clinical Pharmacology and Drug Development, so how these drugs interact in our body. And then, like I mentioned, in that last semester is where students get that hands-on lab or industry experience off-site.
Excuse me, we had one industrial pharmacy. What is that?
Yeah, so that's a 2-part course. And again, that's just giving students a look into careers in pharmacy industry. Like what it takes to be in pharmacy industry, what that field looks like, and then just building on some of the previous courses, so talking more about drug design, lab work, building lab skills, that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, so information for transfer applicants. One thing that I wanted to touch on before I go a little bit more into detail on info that transfer applicants might be interested in is just why Pacific, right? I am probably biased because I work there and I was a student there. So I've been at Pacific in some capacity for the last 12 years, but I can wholeheartedly say that it is such an incredible institution to be at as a student. I think one of the things that I can look back on during my experience in both undergrad and graduate school is that Pacific really is committed to providing student-centered education. So we're a smaller university, which means smaller class sizes. So you really get the time to connect with your professors in each of the classes. And you know, me now being on the other side, being able to like really get to know the students, see what their interests are, and you know, one of the things that I felt like I really loved as a student is that faculty will help you, right? If you tell them what your interests are, they will help you get to where you want to be. And so that was something that I really appreciated as a student. Our school is also quite old. So we've been around since the 1850s, which means that our alumni network is very large, spans across California, spans across the country. And so we have access to a lot of internships and a lot of unique real-world experiences. And so that's what you see in that last semester of the BS PharmSci program, where we're leveraging those connections that we have with our alumni network, with our partners, making sure that our students can have that real-world experience that they can then take on with them as they graduate and go into the profession. I think part of that is strong career preparation, right? Because we have really dedicated faculty, we want to make sure that each of our students are succeeding and, you know, not just graduating, but finding jobs that they're interested in. There are a lot of opportunities for community and connection at Pacific as well. So it was something that, coming from Modesto, I really appreciated about Pacific, because you really get to know the community and get to love the people there. And there's a lot of opportunity just to connect with other students, connect with the faculty, connect with community members as well. And then we're always adapting and innovating. So within the School of Pharmacy, which is where this bachelor's in PharmSci degree falls under, we are constantly trying to think about, like, how can we innovate the programs that we have? How can we create unique experiences for our students? So that's my little pitch for Pacific. So if you are interested in transferring to Pacific for the BSPS program, there are a couple requirements. So we do require that transfer students have an overall GPA of a 2.7. There's no minimum number of units that you have to transfer in order to get into the program. So as you complete your coursework at your community college, you can transfer over after a year, after 2 years, because you can transfer over those GEs and those core science classes, right? But the last 2 years of the program will be held at Pacific because it's those pharmaceutical sciences courses. So you can complete as many courses of those prereqs as you need to, transfer over, and then potentially just be started right away in year 3, right, with those pharm sci courses. There is a maximum number of units that can be transferred and applied towards the degree. So 70 units maximum can be transferred and applied towards a degree. So if you've done more than 70 units, that's fine. It'll transfer over. It just won't go towards the BS Pharm Sci degree. You'll get credit for the classes, but you just won't get the units. And then one of the things that I'm sure you all are kind of aware of if you are thinking about transferring is that courses must articulate over correctly to count towards the degree. So that means that if you are taking Gen Chem at MJC, it has to articulate over correctly to the right Gen Chem at Pacific, right? So making sure that the courses are matching, because the last thing that we want is for students to think that they've taken the right chemistry or biology courses, and then they come to us and we're just like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry, you took the wrong courses. These are the courses that we need. So just again, if you're thinking about transferring, not just to Pacific, but transferring in general, just being mindful of how courses are going to articulate over to wherever it is that you want to transfer to. Okay, and then I just wanted to close by giving you all an invitation to attend our fall open house at the university. So this is coming up, not this coming Saturday, but the next Saturday, so Saturday, October 11th, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It will be at the Pacific Stockton campus. It's an opportunity to tour the campus and to learn more about the Pacific experience. So you'll get to meet some people on the undergraduate side of campus and get to learn more about what campus life looks like. And then there is also some interactive sessions with our faculty and current students. So you get to hear not just from me, but from students in the program about what the experience has been like so far. So if you are interested and available, I put a QR code up there so you can scan it to register for the event. It's a free event. Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity if you're even mildly interested to see like what this is about, just to come over and talk to us a little bit and just learn more about what we have to offer. Okay, and then I'll take questions, but I wanted to put our program's email address on here. So if you go home and you start thinking and you have questions, feel free to send us an email. And then I've also linked our website on here as well, just so you can get a little bit more information about the program. And then the website has our contact information as well. But yeah.
How large a faculty do you have, and how large a average class do you have?
Yeah, so how large a faculty body do we have, and then how large are our class sizes? So like I said, this program specifically, the BS in Pharm Sci, it is a new program. We just started admitting students last fall. So we currently only have 2 cohorts of students that are in the program. It's about a total of 15 students. So next year we're hoping to be able to admit more students and just slowly grow. The faculty that are dedicated to our Pharmaceutical Sciences program, again, we're growing, right? So I'm the director of the program. We have our associate dean, who's also a faculty in the program. And then we just hired 2 new faculty that are going to be able to teach the Pharmaceutical Sciences courses. Our undergraduate faculty who are on main campus help with teaching the GE courses and the physio, the the Gen Bio, the Gen Chem courses. So it's honestly a collaborative effort to be able to teach a lot of these courses. But yeah, it's a growing program. We're hoping to expand. I'm personally hoping that we can double in size next year, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, growing program.
I'm impressed by the course load. It's heavy duty.
It is a heavy duty course load, yeah. So that was something that was important to us, right, is that we want to make sure that this is a degree that we can graduate competitive students or competitive graduates who are ready to enter the job market and can be well positioned for good jobs or be competitive applicants for graduate school professional programs.
My impression is that graduates don't necessarily have to practice pharmacy. They can go into chemistry.
Correct. Yes, yeah, so graduates in this field, it's more lab-based, research-based, or sales, right? So you don't necessarily have to go into pharmacy. So I think it's a really good alternative for people who are interested in the healthcare field, but maybe not so much with the patient care aspect of it. But it's a lot of cool stuff that's going on behind the scenes with drug discovery, manufacturing, and just, you know, practicing those communication skills with marketing and sales as well. Any other, yeah.
Can you give me some ideas of some of the things that pharmaceutical science students going to grad school? Because I have one friend who's a pharmacist who did her master's specializing in genetic medicine, which is so exciting. Like, it's like everything is going to be that, I hope. But do you know some general directions that it's going in? And my second question is, will they be able to do research and do trials, at least initially, using AI? I mean, I've heard that spoken about as a potential boom with AI, that they can do so many trials before they ever give it to actual humans.
Yeah. Really great questions. So your first question, I think, was focusing more on like what is some of the lab work and the research focused on. It's a lot of everything, really. So the graduate students, so we have a pharmaceutical and chemical sciences master's and PhD program at our university as well. So the students that are in that program are paired with our PharmSci faculty, and they do all kinds of research. So we have faculty and students who are working on like developing new drugs. We have ones that are working on modifying existing drugs to see if we can modify the drugs in a way that it's a little bit safer to take, or we're reducing some of the side effects of the drugs. And then we have some that are even in the beginning stages, so kind of like in the chemical lab area, where they're just looking at different compounds and molecules, testing it out, seeing what's available for us to use. So it's all kinds of cool stuff. And then your second question about AI in the research space, yeah, we definitely see that there's a big boom in AI just being used across the board, right, in all different fields. And pharmaceutical sciences, I think, is one where we're going to continue to see it grow and develop. And I think a lot of us right now are just trying to figure out, okay, what is the use case for AI, especially in research, right? I think there's a lot of potential there, but it's going to be different industries, different companies that figure out how can they use it to optimize, you know, whatever their research question is. But yeah, it's definitely out there. It's definitely getting implemented, but I think everybody just has their own different way of changing and adapting practice. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, they're all going to be transferring when they saw how much it pays and how many jobs.
Yeah, it's a cool program. I think, you know, some of our faculty are also alumni at our school, and you know, they'll talk about how if they could go back and do it all over again, if this degree pathway existed, that would be like the way that they would go, because it just opens up more opportunity, more doors, and also just builds a more solid foundation for even if you wanted to go anywhere in healthcare. It gives you more focus into like what drugs are, how they're made, how they work in our body. For an undergraduate degree, it's pretty cool.
What is the difference? You have PharmD, and then you have going for a PhD in graduate school. So what is the PharmD level?
Yeah. So PharmD level, so that's a doctorate in pharmacy. That would be, so a PharmD is what you would see somebody who's working in like a retail pharmacy or a hospital pharmacy working. It's a doctorate. It's a doctor of pharmacy, yeah.
Professional,
What was that? Professional program, yeah. So it's like a professional graduate program.
like a JD.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, compared to our Bachelors of Science in Pharmaceutical Sciences, it's an undergraduate bachelor's degree. If you wanted to go on to do a professional program, you would then need to apply for a professional program afterwards, depending on what area you're interested in. Okay, awesome.
If you don't have any other questions, I think you have some previews to give out.
Yeah, if you're just interested, I have some pamphlets over here that just talk a little bit more about the different programs, so feel free to come up and grab it in case you weren't able to snap a photo or anything of some of the slides that you were interested in. A lot of the links that I had on the slides are going to be over here. And then, yeah, please reach out if you have any questions. If you're even mildly interested in this, stay connected and we can talk a little bit more. I think especially, like I said, the transfer pathway can be a little bit tricky in making sure that courses are articulating over correctly. And so if you're, again, interested, contact us and we can help you with that. Yeah.
Will the counselors know which ones articulate to it, or we would have to do our own research and then tell them?
I
believe they would, hopefully they can check assist.
Yeah.
And check the articulation agreement that way. I think that they
Yeah.
should is the
Yeah.
best answer I can give.
Yeah, I agree. I think like most colleges and universities have an articulation tool, and so what you would do is you can reach out to us to see specifically what the class is at Pacific, and then work with your counselors here to make sure that the courses here would articulate over correctly.
Let's say if I just want to list provide stuff, I can contact you guys.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you guys for coming. We'll see you next week. Can I get a picture of you with your title sign?
Oh yeah, of course.